My face hurts.
Why?
Because my face hurts. Hi, and welcome to Game & Read, Episode 7.
We're here this week to discuss our comedically named themed Detectives with Hats. Erin played the game Professor Layton and the Curious Village, and I read the book The Hound of the Baskervilles, the Sherlock Holmes mystery by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle.
So I played Professor Layton in the Curious Village. I had heard about Professor Layton games through Peter. He had suggested them to me maybe when we were in college. I think he mentioned them. He said, oh, they're puzzles. I think you'd think they were really fun. I was like, oh, haha, whatever.
I literally tried to get Erin to play them like 5 times.
So when the opportunity arose for him to give it to me for this, he did. I really loved it, actually. In the game, you play as Professor Layton and his assistant, Luke. You are called to this village, and you are asked to come and help solve the mystery of the golden apple. I won't say much more because it's a mystery, and I don't want to ruin anything, but I will say there are lots of other mysteries that pop up along your journey, and it's a very odd, quirky little town that you're in. So like I said, I really liked this game. I love puzzles. I think they're so fun, and this game is puzzles. It's point and touch. You're on the DS, so it's touch screen. But
It's basically a point-and-click adventure with puzzles.
It's a point-and-click game with puzzles, and you go around and you have to solve puzzles in order to get ahead. And there are number puzzles, there's visual puzzles, there's wordplay, logic, like all the kinds of puzzles you could possibly want. Mm-hmm. They're there in the game, which I really love. I got really frustrated with some puzzles because there are some pretty challenging ones, and some that if you're not reading really closely, you just totally miss the one thing that tells you exactly what you need to know. So I did look a couple up. I'm only a little ashamed of that.
But you had to solve like 100 puzzles.
By the end of the game, I think I solved exactly 100 puzzles.
Yeah.
There are like 100.
You have to look up 4. Oh, yeah. Well.
There are like 130 total, so there are some puzzles you don't have to solve to finish the game, but you end up solving a lot of them. So, really cool. I love the art style. I played with the volume down most of the time, just because I did.
Which is a shame, because the music in this game is killer.
It is really good.
Really good.
I turned it up for all those like cinematic cutscenes where they actually put voice actors to all the characters, and the music is really great. I probably should have played it with the music on more, but what are you gonna do? Watch TV and play games, and I want to hear the TV. Anyway, really fun. I love the art style. Really quirky, cute plot line. I mean, because it's a puzzle game, you don't get a ton of depth in the story, but it was not like it was lacking. It wasn't just doing puzzles for puzzle's sake. It was getting you along in the story. You did have to go on a little adventure. You kind of got to know the characters, especially of Professor Layton and Luke, which I thought was really great.
Yeah.
Overall, super fun. I give it a 4.5 out of 5 stars.
Nice. Yes, I would definitely agree with that. And one thing I want to add, I liked it when I played this many years ago, when certain puzzles were directly tied to what Layton was doing in the story. Mm-hmm. I almost wish there was really more of that, if they could somehow translate it to one way or the other, where it's like you're trying to do this and it's a very one-to-one puzzle to solution kind of thing.
Yeah, some of the puzzles are very arbitrary, like you have a mouse and a mouse multiplies at this rate, and after this many months how many mice do you have, which has nothing to do with the mystery you're trying to solve.
Nope, it's just somebody like, hey, here's a riddle.
So
do it or you can't come by.
That's a good point. I do think it would have been extra cool if the puzzles had been more linked to the story.
Definitely.
But I would totally play another Professor Layton game again.
Good.
I know there are a lot of them.
More.
So
my assigned reading for this pairing was The Hound of the Baskervilles by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. It was the 5th Sherlock Holmes story published. And the general premise, I'll just set it up for you. Sherlock Holmes and Watson, the classic duo, are tasked with investigating this mysterious Hound of the Baskervilles family. They're this aristocratic family that's fallen into ruin from rural England, and they're plagued by this demon hound, and it recently is blamed for the death of one of their last heirs, and then they found one more guy, and they're trying to figure out what it is before he gets murdered, and, you know, then the family's in ruin. You don't want people getting killed. Yeah. So it takes Holmes and Watson out of London into this countryside estate where they're trying to investigate it. This was the first Holmes book I've ever read. I really liked it. It's a short, fun mystery. I certainly see why they were so popular, 100 plus years ago, and they're still popular nowadays, especially with film and TV and all that. They're just classic kind of mystery tales set in an interesting time period, the turn of the century era. Lots of cool stuff going on. And it was a good book. It was mysterious. I didn't know exactly what was going to happen. It wasn't too crazy, cerebral or anything, but it was like, oh, here's some clues. Here's these kooky characters in this town, and there's a lot of them, so you don't know who did it or who's going to do it or anything like that. There's some other subplots that kind of tie up different things. And it's just, if you haven't read a Sherlock Holmes story, but you've enjoyed Sherlock on the BBC or whatever else, try reading one. I was a lot better than, I guess I thought it'd be.
They're easy to read.
Yeah, no, I mean, it was under 200 pages in a small little book. Really good. I'm trying to think of what else I really want to add to that. I don't know. I mean, I'm glad I finally read one.
Yay, Sherlock!
Now, putting them together...
It's a match made in heaven!
Yes, it's almost as if Professor Layton is derived from the Sherlock Holmes archetype.
Right, so one of the things that is blatantly obvious is that Professor Layton is basically Sherlock Holmes, but a little funnier and less of a dick sometimes.
Yeah.
So they're very similar characters. It's very, like Peter said, it's very clear that Professor Layton is derived from Sherlock, and Luke is his Watson. I mean, Luke is a boy and Watson's a man, but they're parallel people, parallel pairs of detectives. So obviously that makes them go really well together.
Yes, they're both these kind of, taking place in rural England. They're both Londoners, intellectuals, well-known in society for whatever reason, tasked with investigating this weird town where something funky's going on. And yeah, translates well. Read one, play the other, vice versa. It's a very similar feeling. And going back to Luke and Watson, I really like the two of them as foils to their kind of hard to relate to main characters.
Yes.
Even though Layton is nicer than Holmes, he's still it's hard to relate to a super genius puzzle guy. So that's why they throw in Luke there, who asks the questions that you're not able to in the storyline. That's why they throw in Watson, who will point out the things the reader sees. And then Sherlock explains why that's significant in this more detailed mystery. And they're both interesting characters without, making the audience feel like they're dummies, because they point out the things they say and then they're like, oh, that's good, but here's why that's important. So it's kind of building up the audience, because the authors and the developers know that you're trying to figure out the mystery yourself and how to hold your hand through that without making you feel stupid.
And I think both are really great in presenting mysteries and these puzzles, these clues, in a way. I mean, murder is pretty bad in Sherlock.
Right,
That's a serious crime. There is a murder in Professor Layton.
True, but that's not the original mystery.
No, but there's murder. So there's these real crimes happening. However, they're dealt with in a way that reminds you that it's supposed to be fun to play, fun to read, and it all comes together at the end. These are really, both of them, I think, are kind of full package, all the way around stories and games that just, you get to solve a mystery and then you're happy.
Yeah, and I guess to add one additional thing that I just thought of was, since they both exist in their own series, this was, one of the earlier but not the first Sherlock Holmes books. This was the first Professor Layton game, but it establishes that stuff has already happened in the past with this duo. They explore that in some of the later games, which are technically prequels. And Sherlock Holmes, they don't need to be like, Sherlock Holmes, the famous guy, here's his starting story. No, they're just like, Sherlock Holmes, he's hanging out at his flat with Watson, and then, hey, new mystery popped up. And it's, yeah, there's no build-up. It's just, okay, into what's going on. You know the basic gist of it.
It's a great series. That's, I think, the mark of a great series, is you can read one by itself or play one by itself, and it's a great experience. If you read or play others, you just get more background and more context, and it just makes it even better. But it doesn't take it away. Yeah. It doesn't take away from the experience if you just do one.
Yep, no intro needed. You know Sherlock and Watson. You know Holmes and, or not Holmes, excuse me, you know Layton and Luke because they're basically Sherlock and Watson.
So I think if you like mysteries, if you like anything Sherlock related,
or want to try mysteries, these are two fairly easy ones to jump into.
Go check those out.
Definitely. So I think that wraps up our first discussion around mysteries. Not our first of the year, so I had to make it a first of something.
That's not our first discussion on mysteries.
Damn it. Okay, that wraps up this discussion.
You can find all our videos and content. We have a lot of exciting new things going on in the new year.
Yep.
So go check out all our new content over at gameandread.com.
Woo!
And follow us on Twitter. You can find me at emerch.
And you can find me at Nerd in the World.
We'll see you next time.
Adios.